Hey there, this is Gaurav. Welcome back with another video of the series Learn JavaScript from Scratch. So in this video, we are going to talk about data types in JavaScript. So I hope you guys are enjoying this series. So without wasting any further time, let's jump right in. So we have already discussed about a variable, right? So it's time to discuss about data type. So what we are doing in IT world? So in IT world, we are basically dealing with different type of data, right? Like your name, your phone number, your bank account, your status, your post, comments, this all are nothing but data. Now in order to work with those data, we need to store it, right? So we are storing those data or value in a variable. That is what I have shown you earlier. Now there are different category or type of data, those are possible. Like let's say for John, we can have his name, let's say John, gender male, then age, it is a different data type, that is 22, then height, city, then can sing, true. So these are the different data types, those are possible for John. So now in order to work with different type of data, we should know what are the data types that JavaScript provides us. So that is a main motto of this video. So it's not all about JavaScript, almost for other language as well. We are having specially two type of data. That is primitive, another one is non-primitive. So primitive data type are those which are built-in or predefined. So in JavaScript, we have 5 such primitive data type that we are mostly using. Like we have number, like string, boolean, null, and undefined. But there is one more data type called symbol, which has recently introduced. So whereas non-primitive data type are those which are not primitive, which are not predefined or built in. So in JavaScript, we have only one, that is object. So in JavaScript, every data type other than primitives are object, like array, function, these all are nothing but object. So now let us look at few important points on data type like primitive or non-primitive. The first point is all JavaScript values except primitives are object. Just now I told you, right? Next point is non-primitive data types are those which are derived from primitive data type. For primitive data type, I told like these are the predefined or built-in. So non-primitive data type are those which are derived from primitive. And the third point is because of primitive data type, one language is not purely object oriented. So this is not only for JavaScript, it is applicable for other languages as well. So because of primitive data type, we cannot say a language that is 100% or purely object oriented. So if you will appear for any interview, they will ask you like let's say for Java is a purely object oriented language. Your answer should be no. Why? Because it has some primitive. And same thing is applicable for JavaScript as well. Because we have primitive data type, we cannot say that it is a 100% or purely object oriented. And the fourth point, which is the most important point, that is in primitive, we are storing a copy of value, whereas in non-primitive, we are storing a reference. So this is a triple star concept. So I have a lot to say on primitive and non-primitive data type. So I have already written a blog on that. So I'll give you the link in the description below. Just go and check it out. So possibly I'll create a separate video where I will discuss the difference between non-primitive and primitive data type. It is not only for JavaScript, it is applicable for other languages as well. In this video, we will only talk about primitive data type. So let's see some of these in action. Okay, so let me open JS bin again. Let me open this. I just need JavaScript and console. Perfect. So we can zoom a bit so that you can understand. We will be talking about primitive data type. So last time I have shown you how to comment a line, right? This is the power of comments. This line won't be executed. So first we'll be talking about number. So let me write a variable, let's say var, and then I'll write, let's say age equal to 22. So here age is a variable which is holding some number type. So here 22 is a number. So if I write like height equal to 5.7, this is also a number. if I write, let's say, phone number, let's say I'm writing some random, don't try to call at this number. This one is also a number. So let me just console, let me show you. So if I run it now, you can see I'm getting the result exactly. So this all are the number. So now let's do one thing. If I try to print a big number, let's say, let me write something like, okay, it's a quite big number, right? Now if I try to console.log x, let's see what we can get from here. If I clear it out, run, okay, we are getting perfectly fine. So here we have 15.9. So if I add one more 9, let's see what we can get. Oops, we're not getting the exact result, right? So it seems some part of number got trimmed out. So in order to understand that, let's see how JavaScript is storing a number behind the scene. Let's see few theory. In JavaScript, we do not have different type of number like we have in C, like integer, short, long, double, floats, etc. Here we have just number. JavaScript number are always stored as double precision floating number as per as IEEE 754 standard. Now we have to understand what do you mean by double precision floating number. So according to double precision floating number, JavaScript store number in 64 bits. So you can see 64 bits means 64 1 or 0 we can store. So where first 0 to 51 bits, that is 52 bits, will be allocated for the number, and next 52 to 62, that is 11 bits, will be allocated for exponent part, and last 1 bit, that is 63 bit, will be allocated for sign. So let me show you one example. Let's say here I am showing 64.5, that's the number, right? So if I convert it in binary form, we'll be getting like 1, then 6, 0, and then 0.1. So here the number part is 160, that is the number part, and the fraction part, that is nothing but the exponent part, is 0.1, and here it's a positive number, that's what the sign is. So this is how basically JavaScript is storing number. If I talk about an integer without having any exponent or period, are accurate up to 15 digit. So why 15 digit? Because if I talk about exponent and sign, exponent is taking 11 bits and sign is taking 1 bit. So rest 52 bits is what allocated for storing integer. So that is why we are getting some weird result. So now let's go back to JSBin again. Okay, so now let's talk about string. So let me comment this part. So this is called unused code. So as a good practice, you should avoid having some unused code. This is okay for experimenting purpose. So for string, if I say I'm storing name, let's say John, and let's say I'm storing designation. So here you can use single quotation, that is single quote, or double quote, both will work fine. Let's say software developer, fine. So if I try to console both the variable, here I'll be having designation. Let's see what we can get. So we are getting the data, right? So this all are string data type. Like string is nothing but a number of character. So in JavaScript we have a plus operator. We can use it in order to concatenate a string. So if I concatenate like this, let's say name, and then we will write plus. Plus doesn't mean we are adding, it just we are concatenating name. So now we have the name, this is the name, let's say, and then again I am concatenating, I'm just writing designation, the designation. So let me write it like this, and let me remove this part. So if I now run, you can see I'm getting data in concatenated form. So you can use plus symbol in order to concatenate data. So that's all about string. It's very straightforward, right? So now let's talk about the next data type that we have, that is Boolean. So if let's say if I write, so in case of Boolean we can have only two possible value, that is true and false. So if I try to console both the thing, let me comment this part. If I try to run, you can see we are getting true and false. These two are the Boolean value. So we will be using Boolean data type a lot in real project. So let me command this to line. Let's see how we can get Boolean data. So in order to command this, just select and control then /. So let's say I am having two variables where I am storing number 5 and 6. So now if I'll check like whether n1 is greater than n2 or not. So for that, let's say I am creating one variable equal to n1 greater than n2, right? So now if I console.log greater, so what we'll get in output? Let's see. So we are getting false. That means n1 is not greater than n2. That's why we are getting false. This is nothing but the Boolean data. So if I'll revert the condition, let's see what we'll get. Yeah, we are getting true. So in those scenarios where we'll be putting some condition like greater than, equal to and all this, that's where we'll get Boolean data type. So the next data type that I'll be talking about, that is undefined. Let me comment this part. So in case of Boolean, as we are having two possible value, that is true and false, but in case of undefined, we are having only one possible value, that is undefined. So let's say if I am declaring a variable, let's say wait, but I haven't initialized it, like I haven't assigned any value to it. So in that scenario, if I try to print to see what value it is containing, so if I try to see, we'll be getting something like undefined. So undefined means we have declared a variable, but we haven't assigned any value to it. So that's why by default, the value that it will get from the system is undefined. But this is only applicable if we use a var keyword in order to create a variable. So going forward, we'll see other keyword like let and const in order to create a variable, that is the ES6 features. There we will see something different. So the next data type that we have, that is null. So in case of null as well, like undefined, it is having only one value, that is null. So if I try to declare a variable, let's say, so far I have just declared the variable. So if I try to console, I'll get undefined, right? That's the data type. So now if I try to put some value in it, instead of other value, if I put null, let me console it. Let me just comment this line, clear it, run it. So we are getting null. So this is the syntax for null data type. So what does null mean? So like in case of undefined, we have just declared it. We haven't assigned it, right? Any value. But in case of null, you can see we have declared it, but we have initialized it as well. Like we have assigned some value in it. But null means it is absence of any value. It is something which is not exist, which doesn't make any sense. That's what null means. So we have one more data type called symbol, which was introduced in ES6. So the main purpose of using symbol is to get an unique value, which we can use as an identifier for an object. So here is how we can create a symbol. Let's say I'm creating my first symbol. So we have to use something like this. So you can say this is what will return the unique value, and which is primitive. So we can say it as primitive because we cannot use like new. If you write it something like this, it will give us error. Okay. So it says symbol is not a constructor. So that's the proof that this is what is returning is primitive. Okay. So now you can write something here. I mean, that is optional. You cannot write. But what it will return is guaranteed to be unique, which then we can use as an identifier for object property. So if I create another one, so now we can prove whether symbol 2 and 3 are unique or not, because again we are passing the same description, but as I told you, like this is something will return a unique value always. So let us prove that. So if I write something like that, it will tell us this two are equal or not. So if I run, we'll get always false. So even though we are writing something here which is same, but still it will return something which is unique. So symbol 2 we can use as an identifier for an object property. So that's the main purpose of using symbol. So you will always get an unique value. So that's all for this video. I hope you got some idea about data type. So if you have any doubt, any queries in this video, feel free to write that in comment section. So see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Tata. Bye bye.